Hi, I'm JJ. Welcome or welcome back. This is the Seriously Well Read tag. This is created by Randy Ray at Literate Texan, and I was tagged by Mike at Bibliophile Reads. So there are 10 prompts here. What book made you take reading seriously? I was in high school, so it would either have to be Grapes of Wrath, which was, we got to choose our own books for a book report, and I chose that one. And I really enjoyed it. And it was the first long book that I read, so I was really proud of myself that I could do that. And it made me not scared of big books. But also Catcher in the Rye, which I also read in high school, and it was the first book that I reread. So it was the first time that I realized that you could reread books and still get joy out of them. Number 2, what book did you pretend to understand? And it says, be honest. Poetry, I do not always understand at all. I am much more literal than a lot of the poetry is, so I don't always understand a lot of the undertones and stuff. Number 3, which 3 books are your personal required reading list? I would say The Count of Monte Cristo is a classic. A more modern classic would be East of Eden by John Steinbeck, and then a modern book, the Beartown trilogy. I just like the writing style on each of them. I like the depth of each of them. The complex characters, the complexity within the people. They're all completely different, but for me, I'm very character driven when I'm reading, and these were very character driven books. Number 4, what author have you been avoiding? Not so much avoiding, but I just haven't read anything by Sally Rooney yet. I'm not sure if I just haven't gotten around to it, or if I'm just waiting for the right book, but I just have a feeling that I'm just kind of concerned of whether or not I'll really mesh with her. I know I don't always like the minimalist writing. I'm probably going to have to listen to an audiobook because I can't do the no punctuation type of thing. So when they're talking, I do want quotations and stuff like that. I can't do it without it. And then another kind of answer for that would be a book that I've been avoiding, and that is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I know that I want to read this book, but it's was dystopian and now it's real, and I just don't know if I'm ready for that shift yet, knowing how similar things are. I don't know. Number 5, what was the hardest book you've ever finished? This could be taken 2 different ways. Difficult as in difficulty reading and understanding, or difficult as in the subject matter is really hard. So for hardest to read, like difficulty level, would either be Ulysses by James Joyce. I like parts of it. I really like the soliloquy at the end from Molly Bloom. I liked the religious debate and stuff like that, but there was so much of it that I just, knowing that it is paralleling the travels of Odysseus from the Odyssey, and it still went over my head at times. So, and then Swan's Way is another one that I enjoyed for what it was, but it was so long sloshing through that. It wasn't until I got towards the end of that first one that I actually started enjoying it. It wasn't so much that it was unenjoyable the whole time. It's just being so character driven. Not a lot happened for a while within that book. And then I went on and read the second one, and I'll be continuing that series, but those were difficult to get through. Subject matter wise, Betty by Tiffany McDaniel and My Dark Vanessa, and I can never remember the author of that, were extremely lots of trigger warnings, so difficult in that text or context. What's a book that changed how you read? Return of the Soldier by Rebecca West. I had a copy. I didn't get any books for this video because I didn't have a whole lot of time to film it. But it's very short, classic, and I have a used copy that was marked up, and so many different people commented and caught different things that I did. They alluded to different things, saw a lot of themes and stuff that I might not have gotten if I had just read it on my own without those added insights. So just getting extra insights made me realize that it's okay to have spoilers within classics. When you're wanting to read and understand and learn stuff, especially with that harder context or text, sorry, it's okay to, read, wanting to understand the characters, read all about the character, like War and Peace is a very long read. I actually got more out of it by basically reading character synopsis so that I could kind of get where each person belonged, get who they were related to, how they were interacting, and understanding that ahead of time. So I started doing that more as I'm going into classics because, when a text is a couple hundred years old, who cares about spoilers? Make sure that if you're going to take the time to read it, get the most out of it and just, maybe delve into it, maybe get context, maybe just get, nonfiction with it, learn about the author and stuff like that. If anything that's going to help you make the experience more enjoyable, I find that doing stuff like that makes me excited to read it more than I might have been otherwise. I have a greater appreciation that even if it's not a beloved book by me, even if it's not for me, by doing that extra work beforehand, have found that I enjoy it much more immensely as a reading experience. And I learned that by reading something that other people loved, and I could see and understand how and why and what parts they loved. And I wish more people had that kind of joy in reading and learning. Number 7, quality versus quantity. Would you rather read 100 good books a year or 10 great books? Now, the caveat to this is, am I only allowed to read 100 books or 10 books? Because if I can read more than that, I would be completely fine with reading a bunch of books and finding 10 really great ones. But if I'm only allowed to read that amount of books, but having them all be excellent, I don't know. I always need to be reading something. So I do need to make sure that we're allowed to read more. If I'm only allowed to read the 100 or the 10, I would pick 100 even if they're only good, just so that I could be reading more. I want to read great books. That's kind of why I read more. You don't know what you don't know, and so by sampling everything and reading things, I found some really great surprise books that had I only read a certain amount that year, or only ones that were highly recommended, or only classics that are on the top 10 or whatever, I might not have found and I might not have been able to fall in love with. So I like to sample everything, read as much as I possibly can, as widely as possible, so that I can find the 10 great ones for me. And number 8, which genre are you embarrassed to say that you haven't read? Well, I've read every genre. Not everyone is for me, but I have tried reading everything. Number 9, which book do you think most people misread? Probably Lolita. I know people won't even want to read it because of the subject matter and stuff, but I don't think it is a celebration of the love of Lolita. I think there's so much more depth and richness to it that can be discussed and disseminated, and it can be taken a whole lot of different ways. So just to not read it because you're expecting it to be a certain way, or you don't like what you think it represents without having read it, or read it and only get that surface level, I think that you're missing a lot of it. Not that it's a favorite book or anything, but I do have an appreciation for what I feel like was trying to be accomplished within that book by showing how people, depending on the point of view that you get, you're getting one side of the story, and everybody is always jumping through hoops trying to justify their actions, even if they're horrific. You have even in now in we're watching it in real time with alternate facts and all this propaganda and everything. And so if you just read a book and believe it at face value, listen to the first person's story and not delve deeper, not try to figure out what was going on within the other characters in this story or the other points of view, then you're missing a whole lot. And you just shouldn't take things at face value. There should always be context to it. You should always try to see and empathize, not just with the person who's telling you the story or the point of view of the story, but with the people within the story and how they're interacting it. You can read a story and see wrong being done. You can read a story and seeing that a voice is being silenced. You don't have to take things at point value or at point blank and face value. I said both of them together. And so I just feel like when we think about empathy, we're thinking that we have to like all the characters that we read about. Some of the characters that we read are supposed to be unlikable. And with Lolita, he's trying to be likable because he's doing something very, very despicable, and he doesn't want you to think that way. And he wants you to basically give him absolution. And not every person, interaction, or character deserves that absolution. That is what makes a good story. And I don't know. That's just my thoughts on that. So kind of going into that would be number 10. What does seriously well read mean to you? And I think that means being open to reading things outside of your comfort zone. Don't like be a book snob in the point of view of like you only read one genre. If you only like one genre, that's completely fine. But I just don't consider that seriously well read, even if you read everything in that genre. Because there's just so much out there, so many books, so much beauty, and being well read is reading from perspectives that are not your own, reading from time periods that are not your own, from countries and from authors who are not where you're from, and experiencing the world through reading in that way, by getting out of your comfort zone and reading widely, reading diversely, reading genres, foreign authors to you, new authors to you. Just, you know, try something new, and see where it takes you. So anyway, that's my response to this great tag. So thank you, Randy and Mike. Mike for tagging me, Randy, Ray for creating this. As always, thank you for watching, and happy reading.